Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming so early in ITB Berlin to my talk. My name is Kyuhan Choi. I'm the lead product developer and product owner at Dharma. And for kind of this hub, I'm going to talk about kind of our experiences dealing with AI, AI in hospitality, kind of what the opportunities we see in our platform is, and for the hospitality and travel industry in general. What are some of the challenges that we see here, and kind of like what we're seeing as what we see is the path forward using AI in our software for our software and for the industry itself. So as a quick introduction, AI is revolutionizing all industries, and that of course includes hospitality. Today I'm going to talk about like 3 key benefits that we really see will help hospitality, which are like personalization, making sure that all of your messages, emails, like all of these static templates that we've had so far can become more personalized, and we can change them on the fly instead of having them being static like before. There's a lot of efficiency gains to be had. We're not talking about replacing your staff, but being able to make it so some of the easier tasks can be offloaded to AI, and your staff can focus on more value-oriented goals and work. And then the last kind of key improvement that we're seeing is like the guest experience. How can we make it so it's super personalized to the guest? How can we make it so they're super happy when they're staying at the properties? And some of the major challenges that we're going to talk about today is data integration. So in order to personalize the software, personalize the experience for the guest, how can we get all of the data in one place? Kind of what we're seeing as some challenges to doing that, and how we've taken some creative takes on how to solve that on our side, and then some of the privacy concerns. I know everyone here and everyone in this industry and all other industry is concerned about all of these big tech companies that are worth billions of dollars, kind of stealing our data, making it, and improving this space without us, essentially. So a little bit of how we can circumvent that and what we've been doing. So for people that are a little bit more privacy concerned and focused when implementing AI, there's a couple of options that they can have as well. So, all right, so here we go. So how AI is transforming guest experiences, as I mentioned previously, we think there are like 3 key areas where guest experience can truly be changed and transformed by AI. The first one is just automated guest interactions. I think this is like the first level of AI that everyone has probably seen. ChatGPT came out like 2-3 years ago, and it's revolutionized chat, and I think that's kind of like the bandwagon that everybody has been hopping on. So like AI-powered chatbots, virtual concierges, voice assistants, those are like everywhere nowadays. And the ability to have 24/7 availability of being able to, so even if you're not staffed 24/7, having a chatbot like ChatGPT or Gemini be able to respond to all of your guests, being able to have multilingual support without having to translate every little part of your knowledge base and your answers for your hotel, have been like a really big boon, and I think the first step that everybody is dipping their toes with AI. So I just wanted to kind of start off with that. The second one that we kind of have seen, and I think is becoming more and more prevalent, is operational efficiency. So we're seeing maintenance predictions or task automations and AI-driven housekeeping. So what we've been seeing as kind of opportunities in this space is previously, in order to create a lot of these predictions, to create a lot of these automations, you had to manually assign the rules. You needed to figure out, hey, this is when we want things to be automated. This is the like 5-6 key points that someone has to look at in order to predict when the maintenance is going to happen. Or it had to just be like time-based, saying, hey, every 6 months I want this battery changed and stuff like that. What we are seeing is you can start building out agents with AI. So you can have like an additional staff member that's obviously fabricated, created online, working 24/7 essentially, and they can look at all of your data and start predicting these things for you. So it can say, hey, instead of having to set a rule and saying, hey, when X happens, I want this email to be sent, you can have like an agent, you can have an AI agent always be looking at your data sources and just make it a little bit more fluid and a little bit more seamless in that aspect. So we're seeing there's a lot of like operational efficiencies to be gained when using AI agents as an extra hand or an extra staff, essentially, going forward. And last but not least, I think one of the key things that we're seeing is like personalized recommendations, like AI-driven upselling and guest personalization, like making the emails. So the example that I used in the beginning when talking a little bit about personalized recommendations, I think the biggest kind of like upside we see for recommendations is inside of templated emails. So I know everybody in the travel industry, you always get your check-in instructions, you always get your reservation confirmation, but those are always so static, and everyone gets the same message. Thanks for booking with X loyalty program. We're looking forward to your stay, and here's your check-in date, check-out date, and the room that you booked. And kind of what we're seeing with AI recommendations is that inside of your static templates, you can add more dynamic information. So instead of having to have your staff go in and writing in like, hey, the weather when you're staying from March 4th to March 6th, it's gonna be a little chilly, so don't forget your jacket. Having to write that for every guest that's staying from March 4th to March 6th is going to be insanely difficult and a lot of manual processes. But what we're seeing is that we can create an AI assistant or an AI agent to fill that information for you. And the two types of information that we have been seeing that's kind of really interesting to look at for guest personalization for these emails are the reservation data itself. So we can get a lot of information just from the reservation. Where they're staying, when are they staying, and then using that you can extrapolate a lot of other data, like what's the weather like, what's the weather going to be like in the area that they're staying, are there any local events that they should be aware of, stuff like that. And then the other type of data is a little bit more specific and requires a little bit more engagement from the guest. And what we're trying to call it is called guest data. So these are information that we're picking up from the guest, either by like smart IoT devices that have been in hotels that they've stayed previously, or by asking the questions directly to the guest, right? So like one typical example that we can have is a lot of hotels and a lot of properties have smart thermostats now. So we can kind of figure out if they've stayed in the past, how can we get that thermostat data so we can make it so the room is either colder, if they like it colder, or make the room warmer. And that's more of a, where we're looking at it, we're looking at it from like a guest experience. So when they come into the room, it's the perfect temperature that they would like, even before we have to ask it. But from a saving standpoint as well, if you know someone likes the room warmer, then there's no reason to preset it to a colder temperature, which can save kind of electricity costs before check-in and stuff like that. So we're seeing that AI can help a lot in these personalizations, and I think towards the end, we're gonna show a couple of examples of what we've been playing around with our software and showcase some of that information as well. So before we go into into our software and kind of how we're doing it, I just thought I would bring up some challenges in AI adoption, because I know not everybody is super happy about AI, and there are a lot of kind of like challenges for why people are not adopting it. And the first big problem that I have kind of showcased is data limitations. So AI requires really high quality structured data for your hotel and for your operation. So anyone can kind of go online, go to ChatGPT, and they can ask it a lot of questions. And nowadays, it's so good that it will even do Google searches for you. So when you say, hey, I'm staying at Miami Beach at this specific hotel, does this property have a swimming pool? And without you having to do anything, ChatGPT will be able to look at kayak.com, look at booking.com, look at Airbnb, consolidate all of the sources and say, yes, this property has a swimming pool. No, it doesn't have a swimming pool. But it's just very generic, and it can't tell you all of the information. And the big limitation to that is also if the information has changed. Maybe there's construction going on for 3 months where the swimming pool is closed. They're not going to be able to get that specific information from Google or ChatGPT because it's too generic. So one limitation that I want to highlight is that you need a place where you can put all of this data so it becomes more accessible to the AI model and to your AI assistant so they can help with the most up-to-date information. So how we've kind of gone about this is kind of how a lot of chatbots and AI bots have been doing it since ChatGPT has come out. So we're using a vector database and using the retrieval augmented method. So we have either ChatGPT, Gemini, or any of the AI models that you can kind of select. I'm going to go into that a little bit in a couple of slides from now in terms of limitations. So any AI model that you want, there's a retrieval aspect to it. So you have one highly centralized knowledge base where you can keep all of your information, how to get to the swimming pool, when it's open, if there's construction going on, add that information into the knowledge base, and all of this information will be available to your AI assistant so it can make sure that your guest is getting the most up-to-date information. So one example of this I have is the swimming pool example that I've been talking about, which is, hey, do you guys have a swimming pool and when is it open? I left out kind of the hotel name, and we made up some names here, but this is like a response that you would actually get from ChatGPT, which is, in order to use the swimming pool, use the elevator to the pool level, often labeled amenities or pool, follow signs to the pool area, use your key card for access, ask the front desk if unsure. Hill Hotel has two outdoor swimming pools. I don't have access to any specific hours of operations in my sources. I recommend contacting the property directly for the most accurate and up-to-date information. So this is like the generic information that AI models are able to compile from either Google searches or from their training data. And once you add the retrieval method to it, you can kind of overcome this limitation. And it says, yes, Hill Hotels offers 2 swimming pools for guests to enjoy. These pools are perfect for relaxation. It also tells you exactly where they are. There's one on the 5th floor. There's one on the ground floor. Both pools are open from 6 a.m. to 6:30. Please enjoy your stay. And it says use the elevator and use the provided fob as well, instead of just having very generic key pieces of what most hotels have if you're just using generic ChatGPT. Okay. So the next and second limitations that we're kind of seeing inside of AI is data integration and privacy. So people have been concerned about where is this data being held, who has access to this data, and most importantly, when you're using these private models from these billion-dollar AI companies like ChatGPT, Google, Facebook, the question is, do they have access to your data? I think a lot of people, some people care, some people don't. I know like the very big corporations with a lot of sensitive data, this is a very, very big ask. I think to just day-to-day consumers, it's not as big, so I don't think there's been a lot of talk around this too much yet. But there are some alternatives that are coming up, and I thought it was a very good time to talk about some of the alternatives because it's been in the news a lot lately in the past. So I guess the biggest problem was before DeepSeek came out, which is using a method of distilling, and it made it open source, but instead of having to give all of your data out to these big companies that are hosting their own AI models, you can run this model locally, and it actually has very good, rate of success, and it's very equivalent to the closed source models, essentially. So this has been available since the beginning. I think Facebook released their Llama 2 like 2 years ago as well as open source. Some of the concerns is there's a server cost. You have to figure out where you're going to host it, how you're going to host it, and how you're going to do that for your own company. And another big issues with those open source models were they were not as effective as just the closed source ones, where when Llama 2 came out, it was decent, but when compared to ChatGPT 4 that they released around the same time, it was lacking a lot. But I think DeepSeek has made leaps where open source model is an actual viable solution now, comparable to ChatGPT, Gemini, and Anthropic's cloud, essentially. So this is something that we are leveraging kind of like offhand in the back end. So if people are a little bit more privacy concerned, we have kind of created a server where we can just use an open source model so we don't have to use and give data. Whereas another option is just to use like a hosted model. It's a lot cheaper for now. It's pay per use for the AI usage. You don't have to worry about where it's hosted, is it gonna go down? All of the OpenAI, Google, they're kind of handling that for you. But the biggest concern is the data privacy concerns, which is they say they're not gonna use it, but we never know what's gonna happen. But for people that are more interested in the top of the line models, making sure that the AI responses are being generated by the most modern and most up-to-date model, they can still just use the hosted models, and we're giving both options in our product, essentially. So, future of AI in hospitality. This is kind of our spin and takes on where we see hospitality is going. It's kind of a consolidation of everything that I've talked about in the first 15 minutes. And this is kind of like what we're seeing is happening, which is, first, we think hyper-personalization is going to be a day-to-day instance. It's not going to require the big amount of manual labor and work needed to personalize each and every message for the guest. I think this is going to be a lot easier to do with AI in the future. We have AI-driven analytics, so instead of having to build out your dashboard, figure out what kind of data points are good for you, you'll be able to ask a handy-dandy AI assistant and say, hey, these are some of the things that I'm worried about. Can you look into my data, find out what I should be looking at to see day-to-day operations? So it can help, you can have a hybrid model of looking at things that you know that you want to look about day-to-day, and then you can also try to get some deeper analytics and insights from AI that you would have never thought about, essentially, helping you bootstrap your analytics. And then another thing that we see is predictive forecasting. So I know machine learning has been doing this for a long time with different versions of AI where they're using a lot of past data to build specialized algorithms to do forecasting. But I think with generative AI, it's making it a lot easier and lowering the barrier of entry for everybody else to be able to do this with a lot less than what we've been able to do in the past. And the other side of the AI is what I think people have been looking at, and it's been the most explored space currently in AI, which is just enhanced automations and human AI collaborations like chatbots, making sure that responses come, tickets are created effectively, efficiently, without having to type in additional work and stuff like that, I think, is where the future of AI is. And from where we're standing for our product, we have, in order to kind of overcome the data limitations and to provide more personalization through the emails, where we've been looking into guest profiles with a lot of unified data, and I think this is kind of like things that we, for the travel industry, need to look at. I know we have a lot of fragmented loyalty programs, CRMs, and all of the data is all over the place. We're looking at kind of how can we get all of this data in one place? How do you know how many times this guest has stayed, where they have stayed, how many times have we conversed with them? Do they usually like talking to us on the OTA channel? Do they like emailing? Do they like WhatsApp messages? And then if they've stayed at the property, did they have any past issues or any requests that they've asked for in the past? So getting all of that data into a unified comprehensive guest profile, so the AI can start using this data to build more personalized communication and suggestions to the operators on the guest using this data, essentially. Next, we have the AI email personalization. This is like an example that I gave in the beginning. I think the days of static emails are going to be over soon. AI is making it so easy to actually build out these templates that are a lot more dynamic and a lot more personalized. So this email personalization example that we have here, we're seeing some components of regular template emails of saying, hey, you're coming to our desert hotel from March 3rd to March 6th. Those are like static information that we've had access to for a very, very long time. But the interesting parts are kind of the 2 paragraphs or 2 sentences that comes after, which is, hey, please note that the weather is expected to be a bit chilly with some rain during your stay. I think in the past, someone would have had to write this manually, but AI is able to look at the weather data of when someone is staying, and they're able to grab that out and make that custom to the length of stay of the guest. And then the sentence after that is information directly from the knowledge base or this place where you're storing information about this hotel. So the AI is able to see, oh, it's going to be raining a little bit during the stay of this guest, so let me see in this knowledge base if there's any information that can help during their stay. So it'll be, hey, if you need an umbrella, since it's saw that it's going to rain a bit, it'll pull out information from your concierge, which is, hey, there's a complimentary umbrella at the front desk that you can use during your stay, and stuff like that. And we're also looking at getting some local event data as well. So if there's like a Taylor Swift concert at the hotel you're staying in, maybe they know you're staying for the days where the concert is being held, and you have an article specific to that, and you can provide some information about, hey, we have a shuttle going there. You can use information like that to craft a more personalized email for your guests. And okay. The next one we have is the AI chat widget and personalization of conversation with your guest, essentially. So we have a chat widget where this is, as I mentioned, like the first foray that most travel-focused AI companies are going into, I think, because this is the most interesting part and the example that's being brought up all the time, even from the big AI companies, which is you have an AI assistant that can converse with your guest, and depending on what kind of questions is being asked, it can directly answer about the questions from the knowledge base or the knowledge store of where you're keeping all of your information about your hotel. And if it's something that the knowledge base can't solve, then it can create tickets for you and link it directly into the guest profile to be used for further personalization for other parts of the AI and the other AI modules that are in the system. And last but not least, something that we're seeing is for housekeeping. A lot of housekeepers are manually assigning their housekeepers to the rooms because they want to create like a fair environment where everybody is assigned the same amount. And also, I think day-to-day based on occupancy and depending on when they need to assign more people or less people, the managers are usually doing this manually day-to-day from what we've seen. So we're looking at kind of using AI to efficiently assign your housekeepers. And this is kind of like a hybrid of what we were talking about for being able to automate things without having to know the exact parameters for automating. So I think before, if you wanted to replace your housekeeping manager, you would have to sit down with your manager and you would have to fill out an algorithm of figuring out when do I call a new when do I call one more housekeeper? Like, when is it not enough? How do I separate who's cleaning which space? What's a distance that's too far? Like, all of those rules have to be manually created. But with generative AI, you can just create an agent that can be a friendly assistant to your housekeeping manager, and you can just say, hey, imagine you're the housekeeping manager. These are all the parameters that I'm going to give you. This is how far rooms are like based. Like, these are how many housekeepers that can work today. If you need more, let me know you need more, and it'll just kind of auto-assign all of your housekeeping for you, as if a person has assigned the housekeeping, not based on a rule or an algorithm that has been set in the past. So it allows the auto-assigning and automations to be a little bit more flexible. So with that, sometimes you're not going to get the same results every single time, but that flexibility is, I think, what makes it more human and better than just having like an algorithm. So, closing remarks before I take questions, which is, I think the biggest thing in having a successful AI automation is we need to invest in structured data to figure out how are we getting all of this information in one place, because the more information that the AI has, the better it's going to help you, and the better it's going to perform, and the better it's going to improve guest experiences. The second thing is we're not advocating that AI is going to replace all humans. I think there is always going to be a good balance between automation and human interactions. The goal is to simplify a lot of the manual tasks, make sure that all the easy stuff that requires dynamic changes can be done by the AI, while the higher value actual interacting with the guests can be still more human and improve the whole guest experience. And then the last thing we think is privacy is a very big concern, and the cost to implement AI in terms of balancing privacy versus the actual cost has been an issue as well. And I think that is getting better, and I think every day we go on, it's going to be easier and easier to implement, and there's going to be a lot of AI partners that are leveraging different open source and closed source models to balance out the privacy concerns and the cost for the consumers and for hoteliers. Yeah, and finally, how to start leveraging it. I think the biggest thing is AI-powered chatbots are so frequent. There are so many companies, I think, here in ITB Berlin, and also just out there you can find that will do this for you. I think this is like the first foray. Play around with ChatGPT if that's good. I think you can start looking at how do I get a partner that gets custom information in there that makes ChatGPT a little bit more specific to your hotel. And I think a lot of companies are doing that already. And then I think the other thing is the AI-driven data for analytics, for decision making, and the AI-driven task automation is kind of the next foray as alongside personalization. And the last thing I can say is we are an operations platform that has a lot of AI-powered tools, and we're using it. But we're not the only ones. There's a lot of other companies here today, and even not here. There's a lot of companies that are using AI to do specific parts, so please be on the lookout, and I think this is going to be a great step forward for everyone. So, thank you so much. I think we have a couple of minutes to take questions. So if you guys have any questions,
Hello, my name is Peter. Thank you very much for the presentation. And the question will be about how can we validate the output of the AI? Because with the classical automation, it's very simple. You know, we have a trigger, we have an automation, so you receive, I don't know, someone is purchasing the order, and we are sending a mail. That's, you know, every time when someone is purchasing, we're sending a mail. That's easy. With AI, it's not always that input necessarily will give the same output every single time.
right.
And how is it possible to validate, and what is the approach here? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. So I think that is the question that all AI companies are trying to grapple with, and I think that's the biggest part of kind of validating, creating our AI agents. So in terms of validation, I think that's where the human interaction comes in, because previously with the standard automations with the algorithms is if you put in X, you're always going to get Y, and the answer is always going to be the same. But I think AI is one of those things where to feel it, you are always going to get separate answers. And even with chatbots, even if you ask the same question of, hey, where's the swimming pool? The core answer is going to be the same, but the the actual answer, there's going to be variations. And I think that's kind of where the human part comes in, and you just need to double check for now. I don't think there's any solid, no one has kind of found out a way to make it so you can make the AI always give the same response, because that would kind of be limiting the whole purpose of general AI. So I think that's kind of that's the trade-off that we're taking to make it so it can be a little bit more human, because that's what humans do. The answer is going to be variable. Just need someone to double check it at the end of the day.
Hi, sorry. Myself Manup. I want to know that dharma is only restricted to the hotel experiences, guest experiences, or something beyond this?
So we're operations focused. So our product is towards like housekeeping, ticketing. It's to make the operators and the customer service team better, and to help them with their workflow by using AI.
If I come directly to the question that how dharma can improve the guest experience at ITB Berlin, the visitors and the exhibitors experience. Do you have any solutions on this?
The suggestion that we give with our platform is being able to really know your guest and being able to have all the information about your guests in one place, so your customer service agents don't have to ask multiple different people inside the sales and reservations team, like, hey, is this person correct? Is this person the same? And is this information about the hotel correct and up to date, essentially? So we're trying to consolidate all of that information so the customer service team can efficiently, effectively, and confidently answer guests, which we see improves guest satisfaction during their stay overall. Yeah, there's no other questions. I think we're gonna stick around for, I think we have 20 to 30 minutes in the room next door, so you can ask. I'll be around to answer any questions there. All right, thank you.